Hello, hello. This is my artifact episode number 3622. Today's date is October 30, 2025. It's been almost like October 3, 2025. It's been almost like a night at 9:52 p.m. All right, there is a couple of things that something is happened that shouldn't supposed to be happen. Okay, and I realize what is actually problem. Okay, let me tell you. So, um, let me tell you one thing because okay, so from almost like a basically almost like a week, yeah, a week, I am not really doing any kind of like a simply app development course. I'm not doing any kind of like a simply Lumosity. I'm not doing any kind of like a simply Brilliant. Okay, by the way, let me tell you one thing. What is exactly that? App development course I actually conduct, like basically I usually do 1 hour spend on app development course to learn the things and stuff like that. Okay, I also kind of like assembly spend 1 hour on Lumosity. What's a Lumosity? Lumosity is a kind of like assembly brain workout application. Okay, it kind of like assembly create such a game that improve your brain and things like that. Okay, probably. Okay, yeah, it's really fun to play and kind of like it really add value. And Brilliant is also kind of like a something a curriculum, kind of like a something a courses, means like that it kind of like a tell you, it kind of like a like basically is this thing that key Brilliant is one of the really amazing tool. Okay, it kind of like a teaches regarding about engineering concept, physics, mathematics, every concept, science, like everything. Okay, and the way that they teach is kind of like a only very creative. Like basically they are kind of like a teaching all those kind of like a study by using animation or kind of like a something that key you actually learn by doing it. Okay, like basically is this thing that key, like let me tell you one thing, when the engine is actually happened, so basically it kind of like a tell us that key on which time exhaust happened at which time, like a like basically is this thing na key the throughout the animation you actually understand more. Okay, so basically it kind of like a tell us through animations, kind of like a visual point of perspective, it kind of like a teaches from visually that what is exactly happening, like basically most of the kind of like assembly study material that we learn is word format and we don't really understand the meaning of them. Yeah, but in this Brilliant application we actually like basically I actually kind of like somebody learn because everything is very visual. Okay, and because of the visual I could understand them and I could realize them what is actually right and wrong, which is really good. Okay, so I usually spend 1 hour over there. So this is a kind of like a three important tasks that I'm kind of like a I promise myself that I have to do. Okay, for these three tasks I spend 1 hour on each: app development 1 hour, Lumosity 1 hour, Brilliant 1 hour. Okay, but because of I'm spending 1 hour, that means 3 hour, it's kind of like a somebody that ki very tight thing for me. Like basically it's this thing that yeah I could do this thing, but another stuff is kind of like a somebody like a disturb, like basically it's this thing I have some sort of routine. Okay, like as soon as I wake up I have to be record my artifact for at least like a half an hour, then I have to read my book for half an hour, then I have some sort of work at home like a mop the floor and things like that. It spent almost like a 1 hour over there. Then after that I kind of like simply spend half an hour on Duolingo and Elevate. These are kind of like a simply application, a micro learning application I spend over there too. Okay, then 1 hour I spend on app development, 1 hour spent on Lumosity, 1 hour spent on Brilliant. So after I spent all those kind of like a time on kind of like improving myself, and then after that I kind of like a started focus on creating content. I cannot able to create a content because of that key. I don't really have a time because of that key. After a 5 or after 6 p.m. I usually go to the workout and I kind of like simply spend over 2 hour over there. Okay, I run, I work out, I play badminton, I spend a little bit time with my friend. I came at almost like a 8:30. Okay, ate my dinner, record my artifact, and after the 10 p.m. or 10:30 p.m. I don't really have enough energy to kind of like simply focus on content creation. Okay, so this is what kind of like a something fucked up thing happened, and that's why I'm kind of like a bit of a delay on kind of like a something content creation. And in another that I'm kind of like writing a books too. Okay, yeah, like basically is this thing I'm writing a book named World History. Okay, yeah, I kind of like wrote one book. By the way, I didn't really wrote the book actually. Is this thing that ki I there is a no like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing. History is a kind of like it's only one of the interesting subject that I wanted to know, but I didn't really understand. Like basically is this thing there is no kind of like a history regarding about a world point of perspective. Okay, yeah. So I'm kind of like a somebody writing a book, not writing a book, kind of like a somebody is this thing that ki I'm okay. Okay, what exactly is this thing? Okay, let me give you the context regarding about book. Oh yeah. So basically is this thing I went to kind of like a Claude is a kind of like a AI, okay, artificial intelligence, and kind of like I generate almost like a 2000 question regarding about entire world history since the beginning of the happened, what exactly happened, like basically how the humans exist, things happen, all the kind of like a something the all the kind of like a civilization, how the civilization actually grow, fall, and things and that everything. Okay, in 2000 question I cover entire thing up to the modern world, up to the things like that. It also include World War II, everything is actually include every kind of like basically Indus Valley civilization, Chinese civilization, Mesopotamian civilization, Mayan civilization. Okay, as also Renaissance era, modern era, everything is actually kind of like including this entire 2000 questions. Okay, now I generate this 2000 question. Now I have to be give the answer. So basically, is this thing I'm using artificial intelligence to give the answer. Okay, so basically I'm using multiple AI. By the way, I'm actually using almost like a maybe 3 to 400 AI, artificial intelligence. What do you mean by 3 to 400? Well, okay. So like, how many AI that you know at the moment? Okay, I don't know about you, but at the moment there are a couple of AI that most of people knows. ChatGPT is one of the famous one. Gemini, Perplexity, Perplexity. Okay, yeah. Claude, then kind of like assembly, DeepSeek and things like that. Okay, yeah. But there are so many AI models that we don't know. There are so many AI models, and some of the AI models are specific for kind of like some sort of specific task. Okay, like there are a couple of AI, like a black box AI, are kind of like somebody really meant for coding. Okay, yeah, like basically this thing they are kind of like a give you very great result for coding. Okay, yeah, if you are kind of like into the coding and if you wanted to develop some sort of application or things like that, black box AI could kind of like give you really nice coding sequence and design and stuff like that, really good. Okay, if you kind of like somebody focus on writing, like basically is this thing that key way that should supposed to be right, like basically the writing, like writing means like that key. I'm not talking about kind of like somebody writing means the way that they execute the words. Okay, yeah, chat gpt is really good at that. Chat gpt model 5. Okay, yeah. Then Claude is a kind of like a really good at kind of like a something the scripting. Okay, the way that it could script, the way that it narrate the story in a such a way no one AI could do that thing. DeepSeek is really good for kind of like a something reasoning. Gork is also one of them. Gemini is also really deep research. Perplexity is also for deep research. So there are multiples AI are very specific for their task. For the image generation, there is a kind of like a simply the uh, what exactly is this thing for image generation? They have multiple like a Nano Banana, Gemini, Nano Banana, and then there is a kind of like a simply there are so many image generation like a DALL-E, Mid Journey. These are kind of like a simply image generation. Okay, so basically I'm using so many AI at the same time. Okay, by the way, I'm not using kind of like a multi separate AI for no. I'm actually using a kind of like a simply cluster of kind of like AI called Yup AI, YAPP, Yup AI. It's a really good kind of like a platform that key you just kind of like a put the command, and that command kind of like a simply run on kind of like a multiples of AI at the same time. What exactly it means? Like basically is this thing. If I'm gonna say that key suggest me a kind of like a something a story regarding about the story regarding like suggest me a poem regarding about moon. Okay, yeah. So if I put the command, then probably what exactly happened that key Yup AI could kind of like somebody already have a data that key which AI could write the poem really well. Okay, yeah. So basically, it has a kind of like a somebody very top AI, like a basically ChatGPT and Gemini. These are kind of like somebody top AI that could kind of like somebody really good create a very good poem. So basically that command will kind of like go to the Gemini and ChatGPT, and basically this thing ChatGPT and Gemini will kind of like create the poem regarding about moon. Okay, yeah. And which is really good. Okay, so that I would kind of like actually judge which one is really good or not. Okay, yeah. If I'm not really like it, there is a multiple options too. I just click it. It kind of like shows multiple AI models what they could generate the poem and things like that. So basically, which is really good. Okay, yeah. So this is what exactly I'm doing with the Yup AI. Means like that, like basically I have almost like a 2000 question. Okay, yeah. How do I supposed to give the answer? Like basically, if I rely on one AI, then might be this is not really good. Okay, yeah. So probably I'm kind of like a simply focus on Yup AI. Like basically, I put the kind of like a question and kind of like a there are multiple kind of like AI would kind of like give the answer regarding about the questions and things like that. I would read them question, read the answer, which one kind of like a really good or not, and select that data, go to the chat GPT, refine that particular thing for kind of like a somebody read friendly, engaging, like a make it look good and stuff like that. Paste that entire information into the Google Doc. Okay. Also, I kind of like a create the prompt regarding about the image generation for this entire document, entire kind of like assembly question. Okay, yeah. Now I create the kind of like a image from this same Yup AI. Yup AI kind of like a give the prompt for all the image generation AI models. Okay, yeah. And basically sometimes Nano Banana is a kind of like a give you really good image generation. DALL-E or Mid Journey, they are kind of like a give you really good image generation. I download that image, put it on the Google Doc. Okay, yeah. So this is kind of like a entire step is actually happened, and I really love it that. Okay, I really love it. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, why I'm actually creating this book. Okay, is because of that. Yeah, I really love it. Like basically I just want, like basically is this thing, there is no kind of like a book regarding about the world history. Okay, yeah. And there is a like basically what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, right now I'm kind of like really excited to read. Okay, yeah. I just wanted to read the books and things like that, but kind of like I realized that there is no books are actually available. Okay, means like that. What do you mean by books are not actually available? There are so many books are actually available, but the way that they use the language in a such a way that it's kind of like a very hard to consume that information. Okay, yeah. Or maybe I am not able to consume that information a traditional way to reading a book. So that's why I'm kind of like a simply make that particular context in such a way that it could be easy to consume, easy to read, easy to imagine. Because let me tell you one thing, I wanted to consume the information as kind of like a simply as less as effort I could make, so that I would understand. Like basically it should supposed to be understand me as easy as much. Nah? That's why I could consume the content. Okay. But the traditional way of reading a book, it's very hard to consume. Like basically Harry Potter movie, like Harry Potter books. Harry Potter books are kind of like something so hard to so hard to read, because each phrase, each kind of like a sentence are kind of like a meant to be kind of like a something British. Okay, yeah, because obviously the J.K. Rowling is a British person. Okay, yeah, and the entire phrase and everything is kind of like a like basically the phrase is kind of like associated with the British accent and things like that. But as an Indian, like basically I'm an Indian, I can't really like basically it's English, but the phrase and things is very hard to understand. It's very hard to kind of like consume that information. So this is what it is. Like basically and this is not just happen in only one book. It happened for multiple books. Okay, yeah. And I can't even kind of like consume that information. So that's why I'm kind of like a try to make the kind of like a books as easy as I could kind of like understand. World history is kind of like a things that I need to know regarding about the world point of perspective, that what is actually happened in the human civilization and everything. So there is no book at all. So basically that's why I'm kind of like creating this book, so that I would kind of like simply read those books and kind of like simply gain more and more information as easy as it could possible. Okay, so this is what kind of like I'm doing right now. Okay, yeah. So what I'm trying to tell you is this thing, as I mentioned, I kind of like spend almost like a one hour on those app development, Lumosity, and kind of like a brilliant. Because of this thing, I can't able to kind of like a something like basically my entire day is kind of like a really packed that I'm kind of like a losing something at something. Okay, yeah. Like basically sometimes I lose the Duolingo. Sometimes like we do lose means like that I'm not able to kind of like a focus on Duolingo, or maybe sometimes I mostly is kind of like a simply happen with the content creation, because sometime I create the design but I didn't really make the reel and stuff like that. So there is a lot of stuff is actually happen. Okay, yeah. So what I decided that ki, instead of focusing 1 hour on Lumosity and Brilliant, I should supposed to be spend half an hour. Okay, yeah. App development I should supposed to focus 1 hour, because app development really require to practice and things like that. So I have to be spend 1 hour in app development. But for the Lumosity and kind of like a Brilliant, I have to spend half an hour. Okay, so if I kind of like do this half an hour, so that means I'm actually saving almost like a 1 hour probably. Okay, yeah. So if I kind of like save that 1 hour, then probably I would utilize that hour for kind of like a content creation, and kind of like a rest of the thing will kind of like easily manage, and basically all the clutter that I have in a routine, it kind of like easily manage, and kind of like I'm being really much more productive. Because let me tell you one thing, I understand that I kind of like a thought that if I kind of like spend 1 hour on this app 1 hour on kind of like some Lumosity and Brilliant and things like that, it would be kind of like simply add so much value inside of me. But what is actually point that if I'm not really being consistent? Okay, yeah. So instead of kind of like focusing on 1 hour, I should supposed to focus on half an hour, so that I wanted to make the consistency. Because as I mentioned, almost like a week I haven't really done any kind of like simply Lumosity and Brilliant and app development. Okay, so for me it's also really essential, but I also understand that consistency really matters. So for that particular reason, I have to be kind of like a being really half of hour, so which would be kind of like a simply easy to continue everything. All right. Okay. Oh boy, I'm just kind of like express everything. All right. Okay, so should I continue record artifact? No, I don't want to. Okay, yeah, because no, I'm not really tired, but like basically I don't want to record. Like basically I'm just kind of like really tired to talk. Okay, just talk. It's just not like basically early morning I record almost like a 40-45 minute of artifact. Okay, yeah. So I don't want to. Okay, yeah, at the moment. Okay. So this is it. Okay, tomorrow I have to be kind of like only focus on half hour, and as also content creation and rest of the things. All right. Okay, this is it. Thank you.